Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 18 of Restitching the Tapestry.
It's episode 18.
I am starting out on a good note here. So, per the usual, like every episode, I'm going to flail for a second over how many episodes that we've done. We've done 18. We're on 18. That's pretty cool. So, I know, right? So, we're getting very close to 20. I feel like we should do something festive for episode 20. So, oh, by the way, Igny, sorry that we took an extra minute getting started. We were just having a good chat beforehand. So we have Igny here, Arpy's here so far. Um, so thank you all for tuning in 30 minutes early. We really appreciate it. Obviously, this will not be happening frequently. So this is just a one night type of situation because I have another engagement after this. But um, so before we get to actually talking about our topic tonight, which I know Ari and I are both pretty excited about, um,
Pretty excited.
because we're very passionate about our creative spaces, I wanted to take a moment and ask Ari, how have you been? How have things been going for you?
Pretty good. I've been sleepy this week, but pretty good. Good thing I have my space, which is built for comfort and joy. So I am definitely built for hibernation.
Up here in Michigan, it's getting cold, so we're preparing for that, you know.
Mhm.
That's what we gotta do. Um, But yeah, before we get started, I do want to make sure that we read our show's mission statement. So, many witness different atrocities, large or small, that fray the social fabric around us, and much of the time, many may feel powerless and know not how to address such things. This fray has gotten worse with the rise of social media, being able to share in a trauma, and having it go viral in the moment, and basically all of us experiencing it on a mass scale and also share in collective grief or outrage. So that begs the question of what can we do to mend the communities that have seen considerable tragedy? And the truth is, restitching the tapestry is what we want to do. That's how we are going to mend those communities through conversation, creativity, and action. And that's our goal with this show. And one way to do that, one way to meet these any type of achievement like this is by, well, examining our spaces that we inhabit, right? And our creative spaces are very much significant because more often than not, they are spaces in which we are living in all the time. So, um, before we get to talking about specific details about creative spaces, um, let's talk a little bit about our history with creative spaces. So, Ari, when did you first realize that having a creative space was significant for you?
Um, I think it was probably like uh I needed a creative space just after college. Um, Around the time I moved, I broke up with my boyfriend in Iowa and I moved into my first apartment by myself. I had gotten this like office desk and I used to sit at this desk probably like by myself for hours. And I realized that like how important it was to have this creative space by myself, uh, just away from the world and just away from other people. Uh, uh, because it really just gave me time to like I didn't do a whole lot of writing during that time. I think I wrote probably one book during that whole time. But it was just so important to me to have that space to really just sit and think, and it gave me the space to like breathe.
Mm,
I Because it just uh, it just was so important to me during that time, and I realized how important it was after that to have the space to just have inspiration and just to have a space to build around, and after that I really made an effort to kind of have a creative space after that.
That's interesting. Well, and like I really like that you mentioned that it was kind of I don't think you said the word escape necessarily, but you said it like allowed you in a way your independence, your um solitude from other people. And it's interesting like I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's been my experience too. After I graduated from college, from CMU, I lived on campus all 4 years. So I literally lived in a room with 4 boys
Mhm.
for 4 years, which obviously meant that I wasn't really able to have a lot of space to
Privacy,
my yeah,
yeah.
there was no privacy, not a lot of space to myself. And right afterward, I actually moved back in with my parents, in oh god, what year was that? 2000 it was like 2011. It was like the holiday season of 2011. And of course, in my absence, my bedroom had kind of been turned into like a different room. And I, prior to college, used like kind of like turned my bedroom into this creative space. So I had to like kind of reclaim it. It took me like a couple years to really get my place, like get my bedroom feeling the way I wanted it. Like I needed a desk. For some, like in my creative spaces, I need a bookshelf. Always need a bookshelf because I like to store like all of the stuff. I love looking at my books. Like I don't always get to read them, but I love just being like, "Oh, look at those lovely books up there decoratively sitting," you know? Um, and, I've always had like, I know we're gonna talk a little bit later about having plants in creative spaces as well, but I like, spent a lot of time, like, arranging plants, like, making sure that I had the right ones, and eventually, like, I really found that I was enjoying the space, it was kind of providing my escape. It was still in my parents' house, but it like, at that point, like, I was, like, what, 22? My parents were giving me, like, a lot of, like, s space and, independence, so, after that, when I moved in or like, moved to Missouri because I did my master's program out there, I got a studio apartment, and that is literally the first time I got to take an entire living space and turn it into a creative space. So, it was, like I had fun, like, getting furniture, well, really cheap furniture because I was poor. Um, basically just finding things to put on the walls. Like it was a really fun experience. And it was scary at first because I was living so far away from everybody, but eventually I got used to it and I ended up doing so much writing. I did a lot of music, all sorts of stuff. In fact, a large percentage of my book was written in that space in Missouri. Um, so yeah. Uh, and then of course I moved in with one of my friends. I'm taking you on like an entire historical journey of the places I've lived in. I lived with my friend in West Branch, which is north of here. It's the same place my same town my parents live in, and I got to have my own room, and I got to shape the space to a certain degree. But
Mhm.
I was always afraid of doing it because I was moving into a place with 2 other people, so they had already spent years shaping this. So I was just like, I don't wanna really infringe. I don't wanna really, insert myself. And then, of course, now I'm living with my partner and we have a rented house, but it's been really nice being able to, like, have an office and we'll show you our creative spaces here in just a few minutes, but in a nutshell, that is, the history of my creative spaces.
Yeah, I think my current space is probably my favorite space just because I have the room to create now. Um, because although I think my second favorite creative space was probably in Seattle, just because I had this really great setup over my desk where I had all of my markers and pens. set up in these little buckets. I had these
Oh.
from IKEA. So I had this like little like bathroom rack set up from IKEA, and they had all of my pens set up in there. These like they're not Copic markers, they're kind of like rip off Copic markers, but I would take the markers out and I would draw every day, and I I would work on because I was trying to work on comics. So I would work on those every day, and I did a lot of stuff with that because I was trying to do a graphic novel, and
Mm.
I did a lot of work with that for a while.
That's so cool. Well, I like that, like, you said markers, right? Those markers
Mhm.
were, like, kind of a display at the same time, right?
Right,
So, like, in a way, you were kind of making your work area look like a creative area too, not just a work area, so
right.
that's really cool, I like that.
Yeah, and my
So
partner had, he had his I love I gotta say, I love IKEA.
oh god,
IKEA
I
has
love
the best.
IKEA too. Between like, for me, it's either IKEA or TJ Maxx, like, get me in either of those places, and I am a monster.
But he had, his headphones. They had a headphone setup where you can, like, have something hanging from the wall, and he had his headphones, like, hanging from the wall, so, like, it was displayed, so you just, like, pull it down from the wall and just put them on.
That's kinda cool, okay. Yeah, that's kinda cool.
I was
I like
like,
that. How impressive. Would you like to show us your creative space if you'd like?
Sure. So the first thing that we have on our list is getting a desk. And we're gonna lift this up.
I'm
I
gonna have
have,
to lift up my computer too.
so I have two desks. I have this desk, which is my writing desk, and I have this desk, which is my drawing desk. So uh, they have different purposes, these desks. Um, they totally serve totally different points, and I'll show you. Like, the writing desk has storage. I'll show you. It's got storage underneath, and it's got storage on the top, which has got, I don't know if you can tell, it's got a bunch of stuff on it. But my drawing desk is made of glass, and it has a bunch of paintbrushes and stuff on it. So my drawing desk, uh, totally different feel than my writing desk. It just serves a completely different purpose. Um, it has a different chair. I sit on it a little bit higher, so I'm kind of hunched over it a little bit more. I'm just it. The way that I sit at my writing desk is more straight, um, because of the way of how I need it to function.
Mhm.
So I need these two different desks because they just serve different purposes. And so I used to only have just the writing desk, and then I would just write in bed. And when I write poetry, I actually write poetry out in the world.
Mhm.
So, like, I'll write from my car, or I'll write at the kitchen table, or I'll write out on the patio, because that's what I was doing all summer is I would go out on the patio, and I would write and have coffee. Um, but,
Oh, that sounds amazing.
sometimes I'll go out to the channel and I'll go write poetry out at the channel because 'cause I'll watch the fishermen, and, I'll write poetry about the fishermen. Um, so I tend to be more nomadic with my poetry because I'm trying to observe things. So,
That's really interesting. I sometimes am nomadic with my own poetry too, especially if it's, like, nature-themed poetry, definitely nomadic with it. If it's, like, non-nature themed, then I typically stay in one place, but it really depends on the situation. For my my space. Let me try to get this webcam situated so I don't knock it over. Okay, so my space is like I have one desk. This is my desk. I have two laptops, one's for school.
Oh, your desk is a lot cleaner than mine.
Oh, believe me, it looked a lot worse. I cleaned it a few days ago. I have my LED desk lamp. It also is like it has like different settings. This makes me really happy because lighting to me is super duper important. Not only for like video recording, but also for like mood as well. So when I'm making videos, like for the live streams, I usually use like a relaxation setting, but there's also a study setting, which is like a white light. There's a reading setting, which is an even whiter light, and then there's like a sleep setting, which is a more warm color, you know.
Ooh, you have a fancy light.
I can even put it on a timer. Like it was on Amazon. It's pretty cheap. So if anybody wants to get that, I think all you have to do is just type in LED swing arm desk lamp thing. But the rest of my desk, I don't have as much storage as you do, which I'm kind of like your storage looked really amazing, but I always try to have always try to have a calendar in front of me so I can keep track of stuff.
Right,
Um,
calendars are so important.
right. I have like some art and a clock. I always have that right in front of my desk. That way I can always see the time because I don't know, maybe this makes me annoyingly hipster, but I like looking at an analog clock more than a digital clock. So old fashioned, you know. Um, but I usually when I have a desk, I like to have like a little like compartment that has like little drawers, like a sub compartment. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hard to see, but um and I usually, this is weird. I always keep my desk next to my bookshelf. Usually. Don't know why I've always done that, but I think maybe it's because it's easy to like reach up and grab a book if I need it or whatever, but um that's the work area. And oh, I have to show you my chair too. Um I got this chair on Amazon. It's like a gaming chair. Um I don't game, mind you. However,
Their
it
chairs are so comfortable,
oh
though.
god, like it's designed to like be comfortable for people who are sitting in like a very upright position for a long period of time. And since I am spending so much time sitting grading constantly, like it helps me keep my posture because I get very bad with posture. And I think if you're a creative type, if you're like painting for a long period of time or you're writing for a long period of time, it's important to make sure that you take care of yourself physically while you do it, because I literally have given myself back like horrible back pain, neck pain, all sorts of stuff from sitting in a very uncomfortable position. So
And that's what my problem is that I have this, I have this gray chair.
oh, okay.
It's a very nice gray chair, but, I wouldn't recommend sitting in it for a long period of time because it will give you back pain.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, the old chair that I used to have was really, really bad. Like, funny story. At the apartment I used to live at, we like I went outside one day to get like groceries out of my vehicle, and somebody like left a perfectly nice office chair next to the dumpster. So I was like, I'm gonna take that. I need that. Like it's perfectly functioning, you know. Of course, I sat in it, and it was, let's just say, I determined why it was out by the dumpster,
Right.
but I ended up using it anyway. But yeah, like I really do think that the workspace itself is extremely important to conform to your expectations. Typically, this is the biggest desk
So,
I've ever had. It's really nice. I really appreciate its size. Anyway, keep going. Sorry about that.
so where did you get your desk?
I believe I think I got mine off Amazon.
So originally, I got that desk from my glass desk from IKEA, and it cost $400. Or yeah, it was $400. So that one was kind of expensive. And then this black desk, the writing desk, came from Wayfair, and that one was a lot cheaper. Um, so this one is actually like a lot better. So, but like, what kinds of things did you look for when you were looking for in a desk? Like,
Um, I was looking for like I don't want a desk that's just a rectangle because my desk kind of like curves a little bit. I like that curve because I like sitting in the curve, if that makes sense, because I feel like I'm closer to everything.
mhm,
I wanted at least 2 or 3 drawers because I've had desks before that did not have drawers at the apartment I used to live in. I got like a really, really cheap, like $20 desk from Walmart, and it was bad. Like it was clinging for life all the time because it was always almost falling apart. So I was just like, I want something a little bit more heavy duty, something like I don't want it like to be metal necessarily, but something that has like a finish on it that's really nice that, will actually stand the test of time.
my first desk was one of those office desks, like those big metal office desks, and
Those are
it's the
so heavy.
those are so heavy, but it was like the best desk I ever had. It like I used to sit at that desk and feel like a champion. But like that desk, I felt like a powerful person. But this desk, what I looked for was just having a raised level, because when I make videos, I like having, because I have the laptop sitting on this second level.
Mhm.
I like having my camera up on this raised level so I can like put my lighting, and then I can have I have my printer up on a second level, and I have my laptop on the second level. So like you can kind of have it towards eye level.
I like that, yeah.
So and then I can like, when I'm done with everything, I can slide my laptop and everything underneath. So then if I want to have my paper and I want to write at my desk, I can have a clear space, and I can have I can move things around because I am messy, but like everything's in stacks and piles on one side, and I still have like a clean space for me to work in.
Mhm. That's yeah, like, I like that upper level idea. I don't have that with mine, but I have one of those where I don't even know where it is. I have one of those, like, little like desk-sized tripods where like the legs fold and they're like maneuverable and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
usually use that. So if I like ever like right now, I just have my camera sitting on top of my laptop. But if I ever want to do like a stream where I might be maybe sitting in front of a window and not necessarily in front of my laptop, like then I'll put it on that little tripod and it usually does a really nice job. So, one other thing that I considered in buying my desk is I wanted a desk that had like a decent depth to it. Because I've had really narrow desks before and they really, really suck. They really suck. And I never really considered it being a thing until I had a narrow desk and I was just like, how is this even a thing? Like
Oh, like where your feet go out the back and then you're just like, it's like, yeah. And it's
yeah.
like, it's
And,
too
like, stuff
heavy.
was falling off all the time because there wasn't enough, like, space. Like, if I had, like, a laptop on my desk, like, my laptop took up the entire depth of the desk from, like, the front to the wall. It was really ridiculous.
See, I can't like put certain things on my desk because my cat like will sneak into my room while I'm sleeping and like knock stuff off my desk while I'm sleeping.
Mhm.
I'm like, you little I don't understand. Why are you doing this to me? I'm trying to sleep. And he's like, I'm just being a burglar. And I don't get it. I don't get why he does this to me, but he likes making my life miserable. Like he just has to like play around at my desk like it's his fantasy land. But yeah, apparently he wants to be a writer too, and that's apparently his job is.
That's cute. I love it. I never let the cats in my office because I have like plants in here, like over on my stand. I don't know if you can see it. I have like plants over there underneath my TV, and then I have my peace lily over there, which is like super toxic to cats. So I usually keep them out because I don't want them eating any of those and getting sick. But I'll just show you the rest of the space really quickly while it's on my mind. This is my bookshelf. I
Oh
have
yeah,
my
bookshelves are really important to have in your space. Mine's in my living room. What kind of books do
yes.
you have on your shelf?
I try to keep it organized-ish. I have poetry, like collections of poetry right here. I have like all of my personal publications and like writing notebooks right there. Like right now I'm writing in two journals. This is my poetry journal and this is my regular like prose journal. I have nonfiction pieces right here, and they're also textbooks. I have DVDs, and then I have like fantasy, manga, all sorts of stuff. And then down there, I have like some technology and all of that jazz. Then I have like my little nerd corner. I specifically got this light because I love stand up, like, what are they called? Tower lights. I really like them because I think they light up the space well, but they're not like they're not abrasive with how light they are. And then I have my map of Japan. Yep, my meet and greet pictures, my Evanescence poster because I'm probably more obsessed than I should be. And then this is my partner's workspace, which is kind of a mess right now. But yeah, like we share a space. So that like the nice thing about this office is it is like we were pleasantly surprised with how big it was because we've been able to really what is happening here? Why is this not okay? We've really been able to use the space effectively, um, while like kind of giving each other our own space in this space. So
Yeah. Do you want to see my space?
of course.
Okay, so here we go. I have I have my paintings hanging on the wall. Here's some of them. And then I have my paints, which are down in a storage container. Then I have a corner which I do new paintings. This is one that's not finished yet. Then I have my desk. Then I have a corner for more paintings hanging on the wall. I have so many paintings hanging on the wall. Then my bed. Then a corner with my mirror and my altar. Then oh, my closet with my storage space with all of my paintings. And then I have storage totes in my closet with all of my yarn and my crafts, and then all of my art books and my sketchbooks and all of my creative stuff kind of stored away. And then my record player.
Yes, that's awesome. Like your closet looks like it's really large. That's awesome.
It is really large.
Oh my goodness. So like and the thing is, like both of us have spent a pretty sizable amount of time like getting our spaces to feel like they're extensions of us, you know? And ultimately I think and you can correct me if you feel differently, but I feel like it's helped us like feel a little bit more like at home, at peace, but at the same time actively creative too. Yeah.
Oh, it's not actually a rainbow flag, Arby. It's actually a chakra flag, and it's upside down. I call it my hangman.
That's perfect. Thank you, Arpy. That's very sweet of you. I am very nerdy. Like when we moved into this house, like in my world, like I would have like nerdy shit all over the house, posters, everything. My partner was like, well, you can keep that in your space and maybe in the sunroom because I love the sunroom. That's like my room as well, but not like everywhere. I was like, all right, like I will compromise with that. Um, but I have literally so much Godzilla art. I could probably fill up an entire house with Godzilla art. It's pretty bad. It's good but
That
bad.
leads me to one of our points that we had, which is having inspiration hanging around your room. It's good to have stuff hanging on your wall to inspire you, anything that sparks your interest, um, because it helps you really spark your inspiration.
Yeah.
Um, having Godzilla stuff, having Godzilla stuff is part of that. Um, why it's important is because when you're cultivating your space, you really need things that like really just make it yours. Like for instance, I have this hanging on my wall. It's it's a song I wrote, and then hanging off it is a paint sample. I have also postcards from my friend from Germany. I have an article hanging on the wall, Find Your Zen in Household Chores. Uh, my calendar is the 2020 calendar from like that show. Oh, what's it called? 2020, the 2020 calendar, 2020 with Barbara
Uh,
Walters and Hugh Downs.
oh. I like the only calendar I have is my marker calendar, like my dry erase one. I used to have like a regular like foldy calendar. It was like a bird themed one because I love birds a lot, but um yeah, like I really think that it's important to adorn your creative spaces with things that you love because I mean, to be completely direct, like the things that you love often inspire you. Like even when you may not realize it, like I have meet and greet photos up because it makes me happy knowing that I actually got to meet some really significant people in my life. Um, I have plushes because I love stuffed animals. I'm fun like that. And and of course I like having art too because I like whenever I go to G Fest, which is the Godzilla convention in Chicago, like instead of buying figures, I really try hard to support fellow artists and like being able to have their work on my walls in a way makes me because many of them are my friends. It makes me feel like my friends are near, so on and so forth. So, um, and my partner got me flowers. Oh, I totally just shut off my webcam. Hold that thought.
Oh no.
Oh my God, what happened? Hey,
It was
sorry.
just me in the show.
I went to like show everybody the flowers that my partner got me because they're so pretty. I don't think I.
I had I had flowers in my room until today when I realized that they were dead and I had to throw them away because I
Oh,
was about to get ready for the show and I was like, oh, I was gonna show off my flowers, but they're dead.
I'm sure we could have thought of some poetic reason to show them off.
No, they were all dead and dying. And I was like, I can't show off dead flowers.
Fair. Like I know these ones are kind of getting a little like my sunflowers are starting to look not good in there. But the other ones, I can't remember what those are, some sort of like daisies? I don't know. Um, what other like aspects are needed for creating a space? What
Uh,
all have we talked about so far?
Storage, having storage for your creation.
Mm,
Have as simple as having a file cabinet. I have storage for my paintings and drawings in my closet. Um, Having a space set aside to keep your stuff to look back on later is important to keep and have away from the elements. So not putting it in the garage or attic is not a good idea because they collect cobwebs and dust. Also, it tends to be out of sight, out of mind. So not putting it in the garage and attic isn't really the best place for it, in my opinion, just because it's just so far away and they just tend to get ruined when you put them in the garage or attic, in my
oh
opinion.
yeah. I'm
So,
also like I don't think you mentioned basements yet, but we add basements to that too.
oh yeah,
I
basement.
when I lived with my parents, I used to put stuff in totes and I would like store them in my parents' basement. And I still regret it to this day because my parents' basement flooded once and I lost journals, I lost an entire collection of Pokemon cards. I'm still not over that. Um like it was like in retrospect, I knew it wasn't a wise place to put it because in basements and in attics, like there is potential exposure to the elements and garages too. Like attics and garages, there's like very extreme temperature shifts. Like if you are if you're in like an old house that may not have like ductwork connected to the attic, for example, like those temperature shifts could ruin creative works. It can ruin paper, paintings, so on and so forth.
And also a good question to ask, is it worth it to hold on to old things even though they might be considered bad or juvenile or simple?
Um, I don't think it's bad holding on to old things, especially if it's creative work. I'm a weird person because I always tell people that it's important to look at where you were versus where you are now because I think recognizing growth is extremely significant, but it's also like I think it's really fun looking at old work and being like, what was the headspace I was in at that time? Like it's weird. Like what was I thinking? What was I feeling at that moment? So now if there's like I mean, I think if there's like something that's like scribbled on that is not really adding anything, I would usually throw it away. But if it's like a notebook or like maybe a packet of like art or something that I did, like I usually keep it. I just like file it away or store it. And like where right now, what I store all of my old stuff in this closet back here because thankfully this office has a closet in it. But um, like in my experience, if I lose like old things, like it really bothers me when I lose old things, or if they get destroyed or damaged because I feel like a piece of me is lost in a way. What about you?
Um, I regret losing a lot of my old journals now in retrospect. Uh, so I try to keep as many of those things now from probably about 2015 on. But before then, I was just like flip, 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 flip. I don't care. I don't care. I create and just throw them away because they don't matter. But like, I had a September 11th journal, and I regret losing that journal a lot. I regret.
Oh,
And I had an Iraq War journal that I kept, and I had like a journal from when I was a journalist back in the 2004 election, because I was writing news articles during that time, and I was a journalist during that time period. Um, so I was dating somebody who worked on the Kerry team. So I I just I just look back and I'm like, why didn't I keep those journals? Like they were I was writing about really good things and like, like even though I'm not that person anymore, like those were good journals. Like I I I wasn't a bad person. Like like I could have looked back on those and like,
Mhm.
yeah, those would have been nice to have. But like, nope, flip. Bye.
I went through a phase where I discarded a lot of stuff too. Like for me, I used to keep journals in multiple locations, like physical journals and online journals. So like I used to do journals on like DeviantArt, LiveJournal, and I think it was like 2013, like I lost a lot of my journals because I got rid of them because I went through a very it was an emotionally abusive relationship, and I would write about certain things, and after the relationship was over, like I kind of went through this like cleansing period where I was like, I'm going to just get rid of every tidbit of this person possible. And I mean, looking back on it now, I really regret it because I got rid of poetry, which I never do. Like I usually never get rid of poetry ever.
Right.
And that was the only time in my life that I ever did. And to me, now that I look back on it, I allowed this person to influence me so much that I was willing to discard the creative outlets that helped me cope with him, and recover from him. So, um, it was just like a process that I had to get you or that I had to accept that happened, and I've not done it since. But that was the only time I got rid of any entries or creative works. So
Yeah.
the human heart does weird things.
I know it's sad. It's very sad. I don't like it.
I don't either sometimes. So, is there any other
Um,
aspect? I'm
let me
trying to find one that we've
see.
missed. We talked about storage. We talked about. Have we talked about messes?
No, we haven't. I think it's important to clean your space every so often. Um, I go through probably like once a month or so and actually like go through old papers and like go through things and just deep clean my space. But like I clean my space probably like once a week and just, tidy up and I'll tidy up the space, but, like, I deep clean the space probably, like, once a month, where I, like, go through papers and get rid of stuff.
That's actually exactly what I do. Like, I usually just designate a day once a month. Like, it's usually a day where I have literally nothing else going on. Because sometimes, like, the cleaning process, the organization process can be cathartic too, in a way. Because I feel like it's renewing that space that I love so dearly.
Mhm.
Um, and I think some clutter is healthy because, like, I don't like a space to look like sterile and unused. Like I like it to look like it's lived in, but tiny.
Obviously, from seeing my space.
Oh
I
God, my
definitely
space,
like
believe me, my space is far from perfect myself. This actually happened to I went on a cleaning streak not long ago because there was a day like where I was getting so overwhelmed by school that I like had a mental breakdown over it. And I was just like, screw everything I'm cleaning. And like cleaning sometimes helps me get my mind back on track and I sanitized everything, organized, stacked things, put things. It was a storm. A storm happened.
yeah. I That's what I did for this episode. I was like, I just need to clean the space and just get everything, like, in order. And, like, to get ready for Inktober, I cleaned off my, drawing desk, so I had a space for my drawing desk, so I can just sit down at my drawing desk every day and just whip out an Inktober drawing every day. because my palette for my acrylics had taken over my drawing desk. So there was kind of a fight between my oil paints and my drawing desk. So I had kind of like had to kind of take it back. So I made it so that it was a drawing desk again, that I could use instead of just making it a place to put paint. So that was kind of a challenge that brought me back, where I wasn't using it for a while.
Mhm. Yeah. That's something similar has happened to me before too. Like where
Mhm.
like something is preventing the use of a space because, that's actually like I have a piano over here and unfortunately, like I will use my piano as a storage space sometimes. And obviously when that happens, I don't use it. So I'm just like,
Oh well.
um, it makes a nice secondary desk from time to time. But yeah, one thing that I really like about your space, Ari, is because when I lived in the other place that I used to live in, like my bedroom was my office and also my creative space. My big problem was that I was always too lazy to make my bed, and your bed looks like so nice. Like it looks so nice and so like tidy. And I learned from experience that like one way to make a room look very spiffy, especially if it's a bedroom, for the bed to be made, you know?
Um, well, that's just because I'm able to like walk all the way around it. Um, See, I didn't have the bigger bedroom before. I used to have the smaller bedroom in the apartment, which was the other bedroom. And my sister graciously gave me the master bedroom, this bedroom, because I have more stuff than she does. I have more just art stuff that I am involved in, and I just generally have more stuff than she does, like more
I think
crafts.
that's really nice of her to do, like, that's pretty cool.
So my stuff was just kind of like scattered in boxes around the apartment. And so I just was kind of a mess. Like I just wasn't able to like do the crafts and just do my stuff that I wanted to do. So for the first like year that we lived here, um my space wasn't how I wanted it. Like it
Mhm.
just was very cluttered. It was very like disorganized. I felt very stifled. I felt like it just wasn't meshing very well. And my sister was like, "Well, this doesn't make sense because you're taking up all the closet space. Let me just put you in this room and we'll fix the problem." And lo and behold, every problem was fixed, and I just have that one closet now instead of taking up 3 closets in the
That's
regular.
impressive.
So so actually, like, even though it's, like, one big closet, it's, like, the same as, like, taking up 3 regular closets in the same part of the apartment.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because, every place I've lived other than here, um, I literally have, like, close to 50 plants. I have a lot of plants, and, I used to keep all my plants in my bedroom, so my room would literally look like a jungle. While it looked really cool, in this house, I've actually been able to, like, organize myself a little bit more because I have a sunroom where, like, it's the hugest room in the house, like, it fits all of the plants and then some, and it doesn't look like it's cluttered either, like, and one of these days, I'll have to show my sunroom on this, but, um, because of all that space being freed up, like, I've been able to put different things in the creative space that I have in here now. I mean, I still have some plants because I still love to have plants in my creative space, which I know is something that you probably want more of because I think you mentioned that at some point, or I think you
Yeah.
mentioned it in the notes.
Yep.
Because it like, I mean, plants have a way of like freshening up a room. Like they have a way of like just adding life within the four walls that keep us contained. And it makes me
They
feel like,
just add oxygen to the
oh
room.
yeah, like it's like decorative, it adds color, but it also adds like life-sustaining oxygen, which we all need.
Right.
So do we want to move on to discussion questions now?
Yes.
Excellent. So, um, what if we're living in a small space? Are there any ways that we can make the most of that space? I think we've already kind of talked about that, but
When I was in Seattle, I lived in a small space, and basically, what you need to do in a small space is just really consider what is most important. So, like, you have to like really think about uh, you really have to think about like what you're going to utilize the most at that given point. So, like, are you are you going to are you going to have your markers in one space? Are you going to have your drawings hanging? Like, what drawing are you going to like for my paintings? Which painting are you going to have hanging up, as opposed to which one are you not going to have hanging up? And like, are you going to pay for a storage unit to store your paintings instead of having them? And you can get storage units that are like dry storage units that are like indoor storage units that maybe like to store your stuff that'll be like cleaner and keep your stuff away from the elements,
mhm.
which is what I had in Seattle. To kind of keep them away from just things that'll get them messed up. Um, so that helps. Um, but you have to really consider like the utilization of your space more, and like what's most important, and just really like be really mindful of your space more.
Right, yeah. I think that's a perfect answer to that question too. Like I know when I lived in like I was grateful that I had my parents' house where I could store stuff at. So like when I moved to and from like Missouri, I was able to keep a lot of my stuff at my parents'. I moved all of my plants with me though, like literally all of them. So I literally just imagine a vehicle full of plants. It was ridiculous. Um Igni asks, Ari, I've been curious, do you take free art requests or only paid commissions? Or do you not draw for others?
um I've I don't think I have done free art requests before. I haven't had one in a while. Um, are you looking for a painting to be done or a drawing?
Oh. Oh, a rogue agent killer Rodan. Actually, my friend, we actually started 30 minutes early because I have an engagement here in a little bit. So that's why you're probably like, oh no, we're late. But keep in mind, after we're done with this, you can rewatch it through again. I think we've been having a really cool conversation tonight. Um, so I'm probably not going to do all of the discussion questions that I have because I know there's a couple that we could really, really talk at
Yeah,
length
I think
about.
that we need to wrap this up, don't we?
We can probably do one more discussion question.
Okay.
So let's see. Um, is there ever instances where a creative space must be left behind for a new creative space?
Usually when I move, that's when I have to leave my creative space behind. And then I have to tear everything down and reorganize it again and just set up a new space. Um, that's usually the times when I have to leave a space behind. Uh, but and that's been the most difficult for me is just that transitioning period between one space to another. Um, and it's really difficult. The hardest time was when I moved from Iowa, where I had kind of a larger creative space in an apartment, which was like a duplex, into the Grand Canyon, where I was in just a room. And I had a lot of stuff where I had to get rid of, down to not a whole lot of stuff, so I had to make a lot of decisions where you moved into that small space and you had to make that, like, question of, like, "What's most important? I'm utilizing the small space. What's most important to me? What am I gonna use? What should I get rid of?
I can
What should
imagine
I"
that was a really hard decision to make often, huh?
It was a really hard decision about what to keep and what stays and what goes, and eventually a lot of it left, but, I did keep some of it. Um, it just was a lot of it.
Mm. I I've had similar experiences. I know for me, I've had situations where I've had to leave creative spaces behind if I've had, like, really negative or toxic people in those spaces too. And sometimes that involves moving, like, in my experience, it's involved, like, moving to a different room perhaps, or saging my house or saging my apartment or, whatever. Um, but, like, I
Oh,
really think
yeah.
yeah, I really think that the people that you allow into those spaces can also influence how productive they are when you use them, how you feel when you're in them. We could have a whole 'nother episode talking about that because
Oh,
I think
that's true, yeah. I had a
that's
bad roommate that was in my space too.
yeah, and it almost like when you have somebody who is toxic, who is sucking the life out of not only you, but the space, it almost makes the space dead in a way, you know?
We could do a whole episode about toxic roommates, and I have stories.
Oh my god. Well, we're gonna add that to our episode list because I have so many college stories. We could do 10 episodes on that probably. Um, but yeah, um, I like to kind of wrap things up here. I think the whole point that we're trying to convey is that sometimes the best way to really help yourself creatively is taking an examination of the space that you're in. If you feel that you're in a funk, or you might have writer's block or artist's block and you can't really produce or do anything that you want to do, consider that it could be the space that you're in. Are you in a space that allows for that creativity to flow? Are you in a space that makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel safe, makes you feel welcome, so on and so forth? Like all of those things are needed, you know? And in my own experience, it's taken a long time, and there were times where I didn't feel comfortable making my own space because I didn't feel like I was, I don't know, good enough or clever enough or visually knowledgeable enough to make a good space. But after practicing with it, seeing examples, talking to people, it got a little bit easier for me. And I think that's something important to consider. So, um, Ari, my friend, I totally just got my cord hung up on my watch. Ari, my friend, do you have any parting words for the wonderful people watching?
Um, Make your space your own because it's important, and it's uh, it's as good as yours.
Well, yeah, and you deserve it. Like, I think, like, realizing that you deserve to have a good space, that's
You
what
do
matters.
deserve a good space.
And, like, obviously, if there are difficult people in your life, that might make it difficult sometimes to do that, but we'll have another episode about that. Well, we could have
Even a
creating your
s Even a small space, if you can carve it out as your own, you can do it.
yeah, like, it could be a part of a room even, like, it could be, like, a corner table or an altar or, a vanity or something to that effect. So anyway, thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for tuning in 30 minutes early. We really appreciate you being so open-minded about our scheduling. Obviously, this is just a one-time scenario. Next week, we will be back at 8:30 for sure. And we're super excited. We're getting closer to episode 20. So thank you for making the time to watch us, everyone. We love you and have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.